The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Nightlights TV, San Diego's longest-running conservative talk TV. My name is James Lambert, your host. Tonight we're privileged to have a repeat guest that we've had on our program a couple times. She's been on the headlines nationally quite a bit. Her name is Dr. Orly Taitz. Dr. Taitz, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
I really appreciate it. Orly, just so you know, is an expert in civil rights and constitutional attorney, as well as being a doctor of dentistry. So you really got two hats today.
That's can hurt in more than one way.
Yeah, that keeps you busy. She's also, and you've probably seen her in the headlines and, you know, definitely on the internet, she's also worked 3 years on the eligibility issue as it pertains to the U.S. Constitution, Articles 2, Section 1, as it pertains to our sitting president. Let's talk about that. There's some new information that's come up that really was pretty startling to me that you talked to me about just recently, Orly, and let's talk about it as it pertains to our sitting president right now. It pertains to his Social Security and Selective Service application. Why don't you tell the audience how you got involved in this and, you know, a little bit of background and what's involved?
Well, the reason I got involved in this is because of, and you can tell this by my accent, I was born and raised in a communist country in the Soviet Union. And when I've heard Obama speak, I knew exactly where it is going. It's exactly what I've heard there. Obama first was elected as a member of New Socialist Party, and even though he changed his appearance and he changed his party affiliation officially, but inside in his core, I think he's the same person. His policies are very far to the left, socialist policies. Nothing he was saying rang true. And one of the issues that I've heard was the issue of his lack of eligibility for U.S. presidency. And there are three main reasons why he is not eligible. First of all, and the reason that many people have heard about it is the fact that he does not have a valid long-form U.S. birth certificate. And Obama has, of course, presented something on the internet, which is a short form that does not have much information. It's typically given to people who do not have a valid long-form birth certificate. It does not have the name of the hospital, does not have the name of the doctor, does not have any signatures. It's a piece of nothing. And a person who is born in this country and he claims he was born in the hospital should have what is called a long-form birth certificate that has all this information.
Isn't it true, Orly, you were telling me that there is actually on the Hawaiian website a rule stating back then, what was it,
338-17. Yes, they have several statutes.
Right.
One of them, 338-17, that would allow somebody who was born abroad but who is a child of Hawaiian resident to get...
And you can find this on the State of California website.
Hawaii.
State of Hawaii, excuse me.
Yeah.
We're in California now. But you can find this in the State of Hawaii website, where it says that really there isn't much involved in being certified and getting a birth certificate.
Getting a birth certificate. You know, the rules there are very loose. And then there is another statute, 338-5, which allows one to get a birth certificate based on a statement of one relative only. And a lot of people asked, well, you know, his mother, his grandmother at that time didn't think that he will be a president. Of course they didn't think that.
Right.
But it was just so convenient, so simple. If he was born abroad, all they had to do is just mail a form, and that's it. They didn't have to go through immigration. They didn't have to go through all the process. And at that time, the rules were such, the 1952 immigration law stated that if the mother was under the age 19 and the father was not a U.S. citizen, then the child would not automatically get U.S. citizenship if he was born abroad. They had to go through process, and it was so much easier to just lie, just say he was born here.
Right.
They didn't think somebody will ever check. So that's a second issue. Now, there was a lot of talk about the announcements, birth announcements. And the truth of the matter is nobody ever saw those announcements. Nobody could ever find an actual newspaper with those announcements. All they saw was an image on microfiche. Nobody knows when this image was created, who created it. We don't know if it's valid. It's not a valid document. And first, of course, the birth announcement in the newspaper is not a document. For example, quite often grandparents will provide information to a newspaper that their grandchild was born, and the announcement will be, say, in California, and the child might be born in Alaska, might be born in Japan, the parents might be abroad, might be in the military, but the grandparents are calling, and they would make such an announcement, which means absolutely nothing. And then, of course, if the grandmother sent a form stating that the child was born in Hawaii, this form that was filled out based on Rule 338-5 would be just placed in the pile with all the other forms, with all the other birth certificates that were issued based on a proper hospital birth certificate. All of this information would be sent to Hawaiian news agency, which would forward it to 2 newspapers, and that's how those announcements were created. So
what address did they use?
The address was not the address where the father lived. It was the grandparents' address. So
that's a suspect.
Exactly. If indeed it would have been created in the hospital, the mother and the father would have given the address where they lived. And as a matter of fact, there is no evidence that the parents ever lived together. It's interesting that the mother lived in Washington State right after the baby was born.
And that has been confirmed. I want you to know that. The fact that 2 weeks after supposedly he was born, she was living in Seattle, Washington.
Yes.
And she was a student at the University of Washington at the time.
Absolutely.
In fact, they even contacted, WorldNet Daily contacted his babysitter there.
Yes, and it's everywhere.
And confirmed it.
Yes, there are interviews with her friends. She used to went to high school there, so she had a lot of girlfriends, and they visited her. So it's a known fact. The question is, why did he lie about it? Why did he need to lie about it? So next issue, which is important, regardless of where he was born, what does it mean, natural born citizen? And this is probably the most important issue, because we have so many anchor babies. We have so many illegals in this country that it influences our elections and our economy. And the question is, can an anchor baby be one day a U.S. citizen? Is he considered to be natural born? There are a lot of different laws that are being proposed in different states, where the states are trying to figure out what does it mean a natural born citizen. And it's interesting that, again, Obama and his supporters in the media and in the government are trying to change this issue and state that the birthers are saying that he is not a citizen. No. He may be a citizen, but not a natural born. And we traced what is the meaning of the word natural born citizen to the time when the Constitution was created. And at that time, the most commonly used treatise was Emer de Vattel, The Law of Nations.
That's right.
Emer, the author is Emer de Vattel, and the book is called The Law of Nations. And that's a legal encyclopedia that states, what does it mean, natural born citizen? And it states natural born citizen is one who is born in the country to parents, in plural, who are citizens of the country. Furthermore, actually, the book goes further to explain that the citizenship of children continues by inheritance of the citizenship of their fathers. In those years, it went by the fathers specifically. And of course, we know that his father was never a U.S. citizen.
Right.
So that's a second issue. And that's an issue that's extremely important, and it needs to be decided by the court of law. And then we have the third issue that is very important. And the fact is, Obama does not have a valid Social Security number. We have researched this issue.
Why don't you explain how you researched it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I worked with 3 investigators. One of them is Mr. Neil Sankey, who is a licensed investigator and who has experience and who used to be an elite officer with Scotland Yard dealing with, he worked in anti-organized crime and anti-communist proliferation unit. And he researched different databases like LexisNexis, ChoicePoint. Those are the databases that are routinely used by attorneys, licensed investigators. And he found that Obama, during his life, used multiple Social Security numbers. There are multiple Social Security numbers that are linked in
When
databases.
you say multiple, how many are you talking about? 5?
Well, in
8,
in his database, first time that he ran it, he found 25, and then when he ran a full database, he found 39 different databases. Let's say some of them are mistakes somewhere. Right. But it could be all kinds of financial dealings that are not
Now,
kosher.
is this related to, okay, to get a Social Security number, this is related to his name, his date of birth,
Yes.
his place of origin?
Well, we found
supposedly?
different. No, well, we found in databases we found his name. It goes by his name, and different Social Security numbers, different addresses. But what we found, and what is the most significant, is most of his life he used a certain number, and I remember it by heart. And I can reveal this number because it's not his number.
Okay.
042684425.
Could you want to repeat that for the audience?
Yeah, it's 042684425.
Okay, got
What
it.
is so special about this number? The first 3 digits in any Social Security number is, signify the state. 042 was assigned to the state of Connecticut. And I verified with 3 licensed investigators. One of them is a senior deportation officer from the Department of Homeland Security, stating that this number indeed was issued around 1977. We were able to zero on approximate date, which was around March of 1977, and it was issued to an elderly individual in the state of Connecticut. And yes, here I've got some papers. How do we know that Obama used this number? Because some would say, well, okay, it might be in all the databases, but do we know for sure that Obama used it? Yes, we do. How did we find out? And that's his Selective Service registration. And any viewer can verify that. You have to go to Selective Service webpage.
Which is sss.gov, right?
Selective Service
sss.gov.
page. And on top, there is an area that states Verify Selective
It says
Service.
check registration.
Check registration. Click on it.
Yeah.
And then you enter the following information. You enter Barack Obama, his name.
Just Obama. I think the last name is, I think, all they need.
Yeah. You enter the Social Security number, 042684425, and then you enter his date, which is August 4th, 1961,
Right.
8/4/1961.
08/04/1961. I think that's right.
And you will get a match, complete match, showing that's the number that Obama used to register for Selective Service. So that's what you would call from the horse's mouth.
Right.
You know that he used this number. We also checked, and it's E-Verify. Actually, I got this from Colonel Gregory Hollister, who ran E-Verify, and he found out when he entered Obama's name and this number, it showed that this is not a valid search, not a valid match.
Right.
Which means that even though Obama gave this number to register for Selective Service,
Right.
he is using a stolen Social Security number. And this is something that is so mind-boggling. It is so outrageous.
Right.
And it is a testament to the massive level of corruption that we have in our government. And among some of our judges in our
Right.
judiciary that a person without a valid social security number, without a valid long-form birth certificate, could get into White House by virtue of fraud and is sitting there for 2 years, and we're yet to find a judge with decency and integrity who will fulfill his oath of office. We're yet to find a congressman with decency and integrity who will fulfill his oath of office and bring this issue to the forefront. It can be resolved judiciary, and it can be resolved through a congressional hearing.
You know, basically, I totally agree with you what you're saying. I was startled when I checked this out. I mean, I have to admit, I was startled because to me this is a clear case of fraud or misuse of identification. I mean, it's right here. This is on a federal government website. We're not talking about some wacko out there. I challenge anyone in the media. I challenge anyone in the public sector. I challenge every private citizen to check this out. That's all we're asking. That's all I'm asking. Just check it out, and you'll see this in black and white. I was stunned. I mean, I was trying to think how could
Yeah.
this be?
Yeah.
And until I did this, and when it said that it was confirmed, and it even has his middle name in it.
Absolutely.
So you know it's not somebody that, that it's just another
Yeah.
name.
And it shows you that we have an obnoxious fraud who just is occupying a position of the President of the United States. And we have such corrupt governmental officials in the top echelons of power that are aiding and abetting this act, which is criminal. If it would have been anybody else, this person would have been in prison long time ago and for a long time. And the fact that Obama is in the White House and not in prison is just unbelievable.
Well, I can't address that orally, but I can say just be inquisitive enough to look at this. That's all I'm asking as a citizen, just a fair-minded citizen. I don't want to bash anyone one way or another, but I'm saying this is a very much cause for concern. When E-Verify say it's false, and then the Selective Service with his own name in there, full name, and his date of birth that he claims he was born in, with this number, to me that's pretty clear what's going on. I mean, it's
what it is, it's Obama Fraudgate, which is 100 times bigger than Watergate. We have Obama Fraudgate, Obama Social Security Gate, 100 times bigger and dangerous, 100 times more dangerous for our national security.
Well,
think about it.
Yeah. Well, what I suggest for people to do is to check this out before this could be scrubbed as far as I'm concerned. This could eventually come off.
Well, if it is scrubbed there, please go on my website. It's not going to be scrubbed, and I've got several layers of security, even though they try.
OrlyTaitz.esq.
OrlyTaitz.esq.com. OrlyTaitz.esq, like Esquire.com. And at the very top, I actually have the pleadings. The latest legal action that I filed, it was filed in Washington, D.C., and the Chief Judge of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, Royce Lambert, will hear this case, and it is actually Taitz v. Astro. Why is it Astro? Because Michael Astro is the Commissioner of the Social Security Administration, and I am suing him in FOIA, Freedom of Information Act.
So you just want information to see
yes.
if this is actually what it says it is.
Yes, 5 U.S. Code 552, Freedom of Information Act. And I have presented him with an affidavit from Mr. John Sampson, who is was senior deportation officer from the Department of Homeland Security, where he states that usually, how do you check if a person is using a stolen Social Security number? And what is happening, and what happened in Obama's case, this Social Security number was issued to an elderly individual that we presume is dead, or either his death was never provided to the Social Security Administration or was deleted somehow. And I provided this to Michael Astro, and I said, look, we know it's not his social security number. I'm not asking you for the full application, but just give us some information. For example, to what zip code did they send this social security number?
That would tell because of the
exactly.
Connecticut. Yeah.
It's a Connecticut number.
Right.
How in the world could he get one in Hawaii?
Now, I even know when I got my social security number when I was a kid that, mine was a California number because you can tell by the prefix, the three-digit prefix, and the same thing with Connecticut.
Yes.
But I think the public needs to contact their representatives. I think they need to contact the local media. Say, hey, just all we're asking is go to this website, this federal website, key these numbers in, and see if we're telling you the truth. I mean, I think that's what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. And right now we have 16 states. When I just started working on this, there was a lot of denigration attacks, and they still are here. Right. But now more and more people are talking about it. In 16 states, there are bills that are being proposed, that are being reviewed in different committees to stop Obama in 2012, whereby
I think more than stop, I think just asking him to properly present information about himself. This is a gentleman, and I don't know if any of you remember seeing this interview, and you might have seen it. Charlie Rose, who's a PBS interviewer, and I've had some friends on his program in the past, was interviewing a noted NBC correspondent. I'm trying to think he was on for years. Brokaw, Tom Brokaw. And Brokaw admitted, and this was in '09, that we really don't know much about Barack Hussein Obama.
Yes.
And you have to understand that as a citizen in this country, I like to know a little bit about my president. All his records are sealed, whether they're in college, whether they're when he was with Harvard, even when he was in the legislature in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, not Chicago, but in Illinois. A lot of his information, we really don't know much about him other than his book,
Absolutely. And most of the things in the book are not true. He's lying.
Right. So we would like to know about our president. And to me, this is really sort of a serious issue.
That's a criminal issue.
Right.
That's just a criminal offense, period.
I think the public needs to know about its leader, and especially...
Well, not only that, if I may, I have forwarded a copy of my pleadings to several committees. I forwarded this to Congressman Lamar Smith, who is the chairman of the House Committee on the Judiciary. I have forwarded this to Congressman Darrell Issa, who is the chairman of House Oversight Committee, Congressman Rogers, chairman of the Subcommittee on Social Security Administration, to Congressman Rohrabacher, Congressman McClintock.
Right.
Basically, a number of top congressmen. Please call those congressmen and demand immediate investigation and subpoena of all of Obama's vital records, subpoena of his application for the Social Security number, subpoena his a copy of his original long-form birth certificate, his Columbia University records, where we suspect that he provided fraudulent information on those as well.
Right, and it's interesting you mentioned Issa. He's a San Diego congressman from North San Diego County, so you guys can cooperate by just calling his office and asking.
And don't be afraid to tell those congressmen, you uphold the Constitution, you be true to your oath, or we will kick you out of office, period. Today, even with Republican congressmen, and I'm a Republican, there was such a disappointment. They have not brought forward this issue.
I think they paint it as sort of a fringe, issue, and there's more important issues like the economy.
But you know what? Now they're turning around, and why? Because the latest survey shows that vast majority of Republicans do not believe Obama on this issue. Only 28% of Republican voters believe that Obama was really born in
Well,
Hawaii.
you know what's interesting about that, Orly, is there's been a controversy in the state of Hawaii about that.
Yes.
They can't even find the record.
Absolutely. The governor of Hawaii is unable to find the record.
Right.
All he could find is that there is a notation in indices. Somebody at some point has written that they have something. And on that basis, the guy gets in the White House. To be a janitor in the White House, you need to provide
Well,
more
see, the
information.
thing is, a lot of people feel, I think, because he's already in the White House, it's sort of after the fact.
Excuse me?
I'm just telling you
If
that's
if somebody got into your house and stole your house, would you say that's okay just because he's there, or you will kick him out?
Right.
Same thing, and
No,
even
and
more
I'm just telling you
importantly-
what is said in the media, and I've
Well,
heard it repeated.
And let's not forget,
Right.
Nixon was in the White House too.
Right.
And because of the pressure, he was kicked out. And it's interesting
Well-
that during Watergate, people who were investigating the Watergate were not attacked. They
Right.
weren't called names. Then were not called birthers or
Right.
Watergate gators.
And I, you know,
there is no.
and I admire you, Orly, because you have been attacked viciously by the media, and I'm sorry you've had to go through that. And I think because you, in your heart, you feel that you want to protect this country because you came from a country where they didn't do that.
No,
you know?
absolutely. And at some point, I guess it's something internal. You feel that you sort of tapped to do a certain things. That this is something that you were meant to do, and
Right.
That's what I'm doing. And
Well, I just
Well,
want to
wait.
tell you, we really appreciate
Thank
what you
you.
do. I mean, I know it's hard to keep on the good fight, but, you know, when it's a clear case of concern, you know, for people like myself, just check it out. That's all we're asking people to do. I think we're being realistic. How can people contact you, Orly? You've got a website.
Yes, they can. You can go on my website, orlytaitz.com. You can email me, orly.taitz@gmail.com. Or if it's really an emergency, don't call me in the middle of the night. But if it's an emergency, or if you have very important information, or if you're an attorney, paralegal, or legal secretary, and you would like to help in this fight, you can call me, 949-683-5411. You can call me. And lastly, it's not just Obama. We have a massive elections fraud. We have massive corruption of our election system, and maybe it's for another program.
Right.
But this is an issue that we need to work on, because otherwise we will continue being stuck with corrupt politicians.
Right. And, you know, freedom is only good as if you protect that freedom.
And it's only one generation away
Right.
from losing
But
it.
Orly, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We
And it
really
was a
appreciate
pleasure.
you being on Night Lights again.
It's a pleasure.
I encourage you to go to my website, jameslambert.com, and also onenewsnow.com, which I write for regularly. It's American Family Association's website, as well as renewamerica.com and christianmirror.net. It'd be great for you to visit those sites. I've got a lot of stories on there. I think it's really important that you follow through and continue watching our program. We're going to have great guests like Orly. My name is James Lambert, your host. Please join us next week.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.